Now, it was reported over the weekend that the International Criminal Court has excused Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta from his continuing presence at his upcoming trial on charges of crimes against humanity, accommodating the discharge of his duties as the President of Kenya. For more on this matter, we have Dan Kuwali, Senior Researcher at the Center for Conflict Resolution, and he's on the line with us from Cape Town. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Is this a victory for the African Union, and can we say that it's a victory for global governance?
That's a good question. Yeah, in as much as that was the request of the African Union not to have the President of Kenya flying to The Hague all the time he's been summoned. So I would call it a victory.
So it's a definite victory for the African Union, but perhaps let's look at the implications for Kenya's geo-economic position. To what extent are we seeing Western players such as Britain and the US, who are embroiled in this big fight against terrorism, choosing to be soft-handed towards Kenya at this time and not rocking that particular relationship?
First, I think we need to understand the rationale why the decision was given by the International Criminal Court. They specifically indicated that the reason why they decided to conditionally grant the request to excuse President Kenyatta to continuously attend the court in The Hague is that they wanted him, basically, they wanted to accommodate the discharge of his duties as President of Kenya. So we understand what is happening in Kenya. We understand the critical role that Kenya is playing in the fight against terrorism. So you would appreciate that the court is taking those kind of issues into consideration, in as much as we are dispensing international justice, but this is not dispensed in a political vacuum.
Dan, do you think that a precedent has been set here for indictments that have been brought against sitting presidents?
Say again, I missed that question.
Do you think that a precedent has been set with this particular agreement for the indictment of sitting presidents in future?
To an extent, yes, but I think the point of reference is Article 27 of the Rome Statute that establishes the International Criminal Court, which provides that official capacity of anyone is not an excuse for prosecution before the International Criminal Court. So that is the precedent, that is the standard. And the Kenyan situation, I would say, is an exceptional case.
Do you think that the ICC's credibility has somewhat taken a knock with this particular agreement? It seems right now that the ICC came out, with a big focus of getting Kenyatta to the dock, but it seems as if they don't have the international backing, and now this is a significant retreat. Do you share that sentiment?
Yeah, to an extent, yes. But like I said, the International Criminal Court does not operate in a vacuum. They also need to take into consideration political connotations, in as much as the judges at the ICC or the prosecutor may not agree with that assertion, but they seriously need to take into consideration those political issues as well. But I think the most important thing to note is that Kenya has also made strides. First and foremost, Kenya has reiterated its commitment to cooperate with the court, in word as well as in deed. So that has to be taken into consideration. But also, Kenya has made efforts they recently had elections, and there was no violence in those elections. And those are the factors that you look into. But they've also made, they've actually adopted a new constitution which provides for in political inclusion, taking into consideration the diversity in Kenya. But also there have been efforts by the government to reconcile.
Dan, let me play devil's advocate here for 2 seconds. I mean, a lot of the initiatives that you're talking about now are things that happened post the 2007 election violence, and what Kenyatta and Ruto are being called to the dock for are for events that happened before all of these reforms that have taken place. So because the reforms are taking place, should it mean that they the court should take a lighter route when it comes to their prosecution?
Not at all, not at all. What we need to understand is that the court hasn't dropped the prosecution of Kenyatta. What the ICC has done is just to excuse him from physical presence in court. So they're still prosecuting him in absentia. So the prosecution is still going on. And this is not to give room to impunity.